12:05 a.m. A whisper drifted through the air. "Let me in." But this wasn't a visitor. It wasn't human. It was the Black Visitor, and once it enters, you never leave.
The road snaked through the dense mountains, barely wide enough for Azim's car. The village of Karasoy sat deep in the valley, untouched by time. The houses were old, stone-built, with sagging roofs and darkened windows. Silent. Watchful. Azim had never heard of this place before, until his grandfather's unexpected death. The will stated that the ancestral home now belonged to him. As he stepped out of his car, the cold mountain air sent a chill down his spine. The villagers watched him without smiling. Their faces were tight with something unspoken. An old man, Bekmurad, approached. "You are Rustam's grandson." Azim nodded. "Yes, I came to inspect the house." Bekmurad's face darkened. "Leave before nightfall. That house is cursed." Azim smirked. "I don't believe in curses." Bekmurad grabbed his wrist. "Do not open the door after midnight, no matter what you hear, no matter who calls your name." Azim hesitated, then chuckled. "All right, I promise." But deep inside, something cold settled in his chest. The house was massive, filled with dust and forgotten relics. Everything smelled old, like damp wood and something rotting. Azim explored the rooms, stopping at an old family portrait in the hallway. His grandfather stood rigid, but behind him, hidden in the shadows, a tall, dark figure loomed. Azim stepped closer. No, that wasn't possible. It was just a trick of the fading paint. By midnight, a storm raged outside. Azim lay in bed, the wind rattling the windows. He was drifting to sleep when... Knock, knock, knock. His eyes shot open. The knocks were slow, deliberate. Someone was at the door. His grandfather's words echoed in his mind. "Do not open the door. Knock, knock, knock." Azim crept to the window and looked outside. The porch was empty. But then, a shadow moved at the edge of the trees. Not a man. Something taller, thinner, watching. A whisper slithered through the wind. "Let me in." Azim's stomach twisted. He did not sleep that night. By morning, Azim stormed into the village elder's home. "What the hell is outside my house at night?" Bekmurad sighed, flipping through an old leather-bound book. He stopped at a faded sketch, a tall, shadowy figure with hollow eyes. "The Black Visitor," he whispered. Centuries ago, a stranger had sought refuge in Karasoy. The villagers, fearful of bad omens, denied him shelter. Enraged, the stranger cursed the village. "You shut me out. Now I will never leave." That night, the first victim was taken. His door was open. His body was gone. Only black footprints remained. Since then, the Black Visitor knocks every night seeking a new soul. Azim swallowed. "How do I stop it?" Bekmurad's voice turned grave. "Do not answer it. Do not acknowledge it. And above all, never open the door." Azim barricaded the front door and waited. The air was thick, pressing against his skin. Midnight came. Knock, knock, knock. Azim clenched his fists. "Ignore it. The knocks grew louder, then scratching. On the walls, on the windows, on the ceiling. Azim grabbed a flashlight, stepping into the hallway. The shadows shifted. A whisper curled through the air, too close to his ear. "Let me in." Azim turned and froze. At the end of the hall stood something impossible. Tall, faceless, its limbs too long, fingers curling unnaturally. The darkness wrapped around it like smoke. Azim's breath locked in his throat. It was already inside. The whisper came again, inside his mind. "You let me in last night." Azim ran. His bedroom door slammed shut behind him. Knock, knock, knock. From inside the room. Morning light spilled through the windows. Azim hadn't slept. The house felt wrong. He rushed to his car. The villagers watched as he sped toward the mountain road. Bekmurad only shook his head. "Leaving won't save you." Azim ignored him. 2 nights later in his city apartment at 12:05 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. Azim's stomach twisted. Then from the corner of the room, a whisper. "You let me in." The door was already open. Azim's landlord found the apartment empty the next morning. The door stood wide open. His phone lay on the table, still charging. His clothes were untouched. But Azim was gone. The only trace left behind, black footprints leading into the shadows. And on the wall, written in a trembling hand, "Do not open the door." The Karasoy village house sat abandoned for years. No one dared enter. One day, a real estate agent came to inspect the property, hoping to sell it. The house smelled of dust and old wood. As he wandered inside, he found something strange. A single candle, still burning, and on the wall, freshly written in black ash, "I never left." The agent turned, trembling. A tall, dark figure stood in the doorway. The last thing he heard was a whisper. "Let me in." Then the candle went out. The end.
Did you like this video? Even bigger revelations are coming. Subscribe now, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. The truth is just beginning.